Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Marie. Today I'll be doing my October wrap up. Before I get started, if you are new to this channel, please don't hesitate to subscribe down below as well as the notification bell. But I read so many freaking books in October that I am honestly shooketh by just how many books I read. So for the month of October, I managed to read 48 books. And granted, a good number of them are manga, but still. And out of those 48 books, I read 11,024 pages. That is just insane in terms of just the number of pages that I sped through and finished in the month of October. And then out of those 48 books, I gave 40 books 5 stars, which as you can guess are the mangas. Then I gave 5 books 4 stars, and then I gave 3 books 3 stars. So pretty much October was a phenomenal month in terms of reading for me. I read so many amazing books. Majority of them were 4 stars and up, with just a couple 3 stars, which honestly is not bad too. The first book I want to discuss is The Stand-In, which I gave 4 stars. This book was actually really freaking cute. It follows a girl. Her name is Gracie, where she's just kind of like going by life, not the best job, has a kind of terrible manager who is sexually harassing her, and she's trying to figure out some legal advice along the way, but then she ends up getting fired. She's also dealing with her mom being put in the home, and she's also dealing with like Alzheimer's, so her mom doesn't even remember her half the time, but she knows she's getting by, trying to do the best that she can. And then one day this mysterious SUV pulls up next to her, and she finds herself in front of a very famous Chinese actress. Her name is Wei Fong Li, and suddenly she's like, this girl looks exactly like her, they look identical, and she basically is asked to become a body double for her for the next few months in exchange for a large sum of money. And because she was just fired, she decides to take this job, and you know, things kind of happen from there. This book was very entertaining. It was super freaking cute. I just had a really good time reading it. I love kind of reading about the diversity because Gracie is half Chinese and half white. I don't know what her other half is. I want to say it was like Italian or something like that, or maybe it was Scottish, I don't know, but either way she was like half white, and her discussion about how she was treated differently even like throughout her entire life was very eye-opening, and I like that discussion. I also like the discussion about how she felt as someone who was only half Chinese and half non-Chinese, and just kind of like how people would react to her. Even the Asian people would be like, oh, if you were only full Chinese, or too bad you're only half Chinese. Like they'll make like little side comments like that, not realizing how much it hurt her. So there's a lot of discussions about culture, about diversity, about, you know, your background. I just found it really fascinating. So not only that, but the romance was really freaking cute in here as well, and just kind of like the authenticity of it and the realisticness of that romance just nurturing throughout the book was done really well. So overall I really enjoyed this, so definitely recommend this one. The next book I picked up is You're Next, which I gave 3 stars. Honestly, I don't remember too much what this book is about. I just know it's like a thriller about this girl who finds her friend that she's been crushing on body, and now she's trying to like find out like what really happened to her, like why was she killed. And she also finds this like underground fighting sort of situation with her high school students, kind of dealing with this mystery of her friend's death while dealing with some politicians and their involvement with this underground fighting club. There's a lot of elements going on in this book. I don't remember too much, but I remember being just an okay read. I did this on audiobooks, so I don't know if that kind of like impacted my experience with it, but I just remember being like, oh, it's an okay read, nothing too much about it. And unfortunately, that's all I can really say about this book. The next 2 books I picked up is The Merciful Crow and its sequel, The Faithless Hawk, which I gave both of them 4 stars. I did talk about this series a lot more in my series vlog, which I will link above and down below in case you want to check that out. But I actually really enjoyed this reread. I read this first book a couple years ago, and I remember just being like an okay read, but the second time I think it's because I just knew the magic system already, and it was just a lot easier for me to immerse myself with the story. So I actually really enjoyed it the second time, just really learning all the characters and the plots and just, you know, the situation that's going on. It was just a really fun time, and I just found myself thoroughly enjoying the series overall and kind of sped through them. It was just a really fast, good read. Then the next book I picked up is Love Sold Separately, which I gave 3 stars. It follows a girl, her name is Dana, where she is a struggling actress. And the thing is, she was just fired working at Hot Topic for being someone with some attitude. And suddenly she is asked to audition for this place called the Shopping Channel, where she needs to go on TV and basically talk about products and just gush about them for however long and just try to sell the products. It's one of those like online, not online, but like those infomercials kind of, where you know you see someone talking about this piece of jewelry or this piece of like really cool appliance, and then you can call this number and you can go buy it. That's what she was doing, and she ends up being perfect for this role because of her attention to detail and her ability to just like gush things and just sound very excited about it things. So she ends up being the perfect role for this. So she ends up getting the job, and right after she gets the job, there is a murder that happened, and now she is kind of swept away with the whole murder of what happened to this lady and you know how to find out who did it. And there's also the thing is, she was also on the rooftop with someone who happens to be the main suspect. So now she's trying to figure out a way for you know the police to stop looking into him, because even though he has a shitty background, but he has a very solid alibi, the fact that he was up there with her. And so she kind of finds herself invested with this whole ongoing investigation, and things kind of happened from there. It was a really good read. I actually really enjoyed it because I feel like I was invested with what happened and who was behind everything. And the reason why I gave it 3 stars is because I feel like halfway through the book I already knew who it was. It was pretty obvious, and then I was right. So I kind of wish there was like a bigger plot twist. I kind of wish that things kind of differed in terms of the plots to make it more interesting and different, but it kind of was just very straightforward. There was no twists and turns really. Even like the whole romance too was kind of weird, because I feel like it was very much one way and then suddenly veered away, and like it didn't really make a lot of sense, because the person that she ended up with for the romance, because obviously this book revolves around a romance as well, didn't really make a lot of sense to me. I was like, yes, he was there, but like he was always in the background. So I don't know, I feel like the romance being kind of mediocre and then the mystery being very straightforward kind of was disappointing, but I still enjoyed like the overall of the book, which is why I still gave a book 3 stars. The next book I picked up is Lightlark, which I gave 4 stars. I honestly don't understand what the whole situation with like the whole drama that happened behind this book, because I personally thought it was an enjoyable read. It was very, you know, the writing was nothing crazy. It was very straightforward and not a lot of descriptiveness, not a lot of like flowy language, but it was straight to the point. It reminded me of like a younger YA book, not really geared towards the older crowd, but it was very simple. The plot was easy to understand, the magic system was easy to understand, the storyline was very straightforward, the characters were there. I mean, I felt like there was nothing crazy special about this book, but at the same time it wasn't bad, and I still enjoyed while reading it. So I actually, like, based on just my enjoyment, I gave the book 4 stars. Based on the objectiveness of this book, like in terms of like how good the writing is, I'd probably say it's more like 3 stars, to be honest. But personally I don't really see like what the whole drama was about, and I don't know, I thought it was an okay read. Like, it was pretty good. And that was that. Next book I picked up is House Across the Lake, which I gave 4 stars. This is probably my, I don't want to say least favorite Riley Sager book, but definitely not up there for sure. It was just an okay read. I found myself more, for some reason I felt like there would be more like creepy elements to it, or a lot more plot twists and turns, and while there was, I don't remember any of them being like super significant to the story. But the ending though was kind of wild in terms of like the back and forth situation that was happening. So that was pretty interesting, which is why I think this book still deserves 4 stars. But I feel like in terms of all the other books that Riley's written, this is definitely not one of the best ones out there. The next book I picked up is The First Mistake, which I gave 3 stars. This is another book where I don't remember too much of it, because I did read this at the very beginning of the month, but I don't remember too much in terms that it's very middle of the road for me. I just remember being very like, okay, that's cool. I just remember about this woman who has a situation with her husband, and then there is her best friend who apparently is hiding this like major secret from her, and things kind of like happen from there, and that's like the whole gist of the story. I don't remember too much, but I just remember it was just okay. And for thrillers, I feel like usually if they're just okay, it's usually not the best thing, because they're supposed to have a lot of like wow shock factors involved, and that definitely did not really bring that to the table, so it was just an okay read for me. And the last 40 books I read were Bleach volumes. I finally finished the entire series because I literally just busted through the whole thing since the anime did come out this month, which I have not started yet, but that's only because I'm waiting for a couple weeks to go by so I can kind of like binge watch a couple episodes instead of waiting every week and then watching only 20 minutes. So I'm waiting for a couple weeks to go by before I start binging through at least an hour or two of the show. But I did read volumes 35 through 74, which brings us to 40 volumes. And obviously I gave all of them 5 stars because it was just so good. I think there were a couple volumes in there with the whole the full, what was that one where they're dealing with the full ring arc? I don't think I like that arc very much. That arc was just okay for me, but the ending, like the last arc, was just wild. And that's also why I don't really want to watch it for at least for a couple weeks, because I'm trying to, I think if I watch it right now I'll just be thinking about the manga like the entire time, which is not a bad thing, but I kind of want to like separate myself a little bit and give myself like my mind some space between the manga and then the anime. So that's why I'm also waiting for like a couple weeks. I probably will start it like later on in November or something and just catch up with the episodes and everything. But that's all I can say really for Bleach. It was just a phenomenal read. I really enjoyed all of the volumes. I kind of wish there was like a sequel because there's just so much to the story, and like the very end where they kind of go into like a couple years later and stuff, I'm like, I would like to know more about these characters. And kind of like how Naruto has the whole Boruto series, I kind of want to know more about these characters, like their kids and stuff, because I'm super curious about them. And I don't even need like a very long series. I just want like, I don't know, like a few chapters, you know, a volume or two, and just be like, oh, this is what they're doing, etc., and just like call it a day, you know what I mean? Like I just wanted some more. Like it was just such a tease that it was not very satisfying, for me at least, but overall it was just a really good series. So anyways, that's to say for this video. Those are all the books that I read in the month of October. In terms of quality, it was very good. In terms of quantity, also very good. Some people will argue that I read a lot of manga and therefore they don't really count as much, but I disagree. I think they count equally. So that's all I can say really for this video. Let me know down below if you have read any of the books that I mentioned this time around. If you are watching the new anime for Bleach, let me know down below what do you guys think about it. Should I wait longer than end of November, or should I just try to catch up as soon as possible? Let me know down below like what your thoughts are. But as always, if you like this video, please do give me a thumbs up. I really just help out my channel. And if you'd like to see more content of me, please don't hesitate to subscribe down below, as well as hit the notification bell. And as always, don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.